As all gazed in wonder, "That's her!" the prince kept screaming. "She is the chosen one. I have located her." The other maidens were taken aback. They were utterly astonished by the unfolding events. Oliu, the girl from Pamkanel, in a time long past, nestled in the eastern region of Nigeria, lay a village known as Era. The village was enveloped by the shimmering waters of the Oyu River, giving the entire scene an enchanting storybook quality. Era was a village unlike any other. It was remarkably stunning and vibrant. All around, the vibrant green fields and a tapestry of colorful flowers captured the eye. The atmosphere was perpetually invigorating, and the sky appeared more vibrant than in any other place. The inhabitants of Era radiated joy and kindness in all their interactions. They coexisted harmoniously, supporting one another as if they were a single united family. The soil in Era was exceptionally fertile, allowing the villagers to cultivate a diverse array of fruits, vegetables, and crops. This ensured a constant abundance of food, leaving no one to experience hunger. The inhabitants of Era were recognized for their cheerful smiles and welcoming greetings. Upon entering Era, a warm sense of welcome and affection envelopes you immediately. Era was renowned throughout the East for a unique quality: its lovely maidens. The beauty of these young women was matched only by a remarkable talent that set them apart in a truly exceptional way. They were extraordinary performers. Their movements were enchanting, almost like a spell had been cast. Their dances flowed with such elegance and charm that all who beheld them found themselves utterly captivated. The villagers often teased that to escape all your troubles, one should simply witness the dance of an Era maiden. They were correct. The maidens twisted and turned their waists in a manner that appeared nearly impossible. Their movements flowed with such grace and fluidity that it was difficult to accept their reality. Visitors from surrounding villages flocked to Era to witness their captivating dance performances. Regardless of how often you viewed them, their performances would always captivate you. Their performances radiated freshness and excitement, captivating all who beheld them with pure joy and awe. In the picturesque village of Era, a woman named Ajugo resided. Ajugo was united in marriage with a compassionate and gentle soul named Manati, who hailed from the same village. They experienced immense joy in each other's company, bound by a profound affection. A beautiful daughter named Oliu graced their lives, illuminating their world with her presence. Ajugo and Manati had long cherished the dream of expanding their family, yet despite their persistent efforts over the years, they found themselves unable to welcome any more children. Manati held a deep affection for Ajugo, consistently demonstrating immense kindness and unwavering support towards her. In moments when Ajugo experienced sorrow over the absence of more children, Manati would envelop her in a warm embrace of kind and soothing words. He would express to her that their daughter Oliu held a value greater than that of 10 sons. These words consistently brought a smile to Ajugo's face and lifted her spirits. Manati felt deep within that Oliu was destined to become someone extraordinary, someone who would fill their lives with immense joy. Despite the suggestions from some of Manati's friends to take another wife for the sake of having more children, Manati consistently declined. He would express to them the same sentiment he shared with his wife Ajugo, that Oliu held more significance for him than 10 sons combined. Though his friends would chuckle and deem him silly, Manati remained unfazed. He understood what truly mattered in his life, and that was his family. He cherished Ajugo and Oliu deeply and wished for nothing to disrupt that bond. Manati and Ajugo poured all their love and attention into their daughter Oliu. They ensured her happiness and well-being were always a priority. They toiled diligently to ensure she had the finest life imaginable. Oliu was blossoming into a strikingly beautiful young woman. Her heart was filled with kindness, and her spirit radiated joy, much like that of her parents. The villagers held Oliu in high regard, recognizing her unique qualities. Ajugo and Manati's affection for their daughter shone through in every action they took. She learned the importance of kindness, respect, and hard work from them. They ensured she received a solid education and understood the traditions of their village. Oliu held deep affection for her parents and appreciated everything they had done for her. She felt a deep sense of pride in being their daughter and yearned to bring them joy. In her youth, Ajugo captivated everyone as the finest dancer in all of Era. Her dancing was an extraordinary experience. Once the music began, she would sway elegantly to the beat, her smile illuminating her features. The villagers held her in high regard. They would come together, captivated by her dance, in awe of the grace with which she moved. Even after embracing motherhood, Ajugo's passion for dancing remained undiminished. It constituted a significant aspect of her identity. Ajugo, Manati, and their daughter Oliu resided in close proximity to a grand udara tree. This tree held a unique significance for their family. Each evening, once the day's tasks were complete, they would come together beneath this tree to dance. Their most cherished moment had arrived. Ajugo would begin to dance, demonstrating the enchanting steps she had mastered over the years to her daughter. Her voice filled the air, a gentle hum that danced with the rhythm, while Oliu observed her mother intently, tracking each movement with her gaze. Oliu attempted to mimic her mother's movements, coordinating her feet and arms in the same way Ajugo did. Manati cherished the sight of his wife and daughter dancing together. He would sit close by, a broad smile lighting up his face, radiating pride and joy. He recognized that Oliu was destined to become an exceptional dancer, much like her mother. Her movements exuded a similar grace and joy. Ajugo was a dedicated mentor, consistently uplifting Oliu and guiding her towards growth. Their time spent dancing was infused with joy and melody, a treasured moment for everyone involved. Each evening, the family gathered to dance beneath the udara tree. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a tapestry of vibrant hues across the sky, while the evening air turned crisp, creating an ideal atmosphere for dancing. Ajugo and Oliu danced gracefully, moving in harmony with the rhythm, crafting a mesmerizing scene. As they danced, Oliu's skills flourished. She discovered how to navigate her movements with the same poise and refinement as her mother. Ajugo's enchanting steps were inherited by her daughter, and Oliu embraced them as her own. Manati frequently applauded and shouted words of encouragement, uplifting both his wife and daughter. Those evenings beneath the udara tree held a unique significance for them, a cherished moment to connect and relish each other's presence. In the heart of this magnificent realm, there reigned a sovereign known as King Dyke, who was blessed with a singular heir, a son named Abube. As Prince Abube matured into a young boy, it became evident to all how compassionate and affectionate he was, mirroring the qualities of his parents. He was consistently cheerful and enthusiastic about participating in all matters of the kingdom, whether it involved assisting with decisions or gaining knowledge about their customs. Prince Abube yearned to be involved in every aspect. Abube cherished their culture profoundly. He found himself captivated by the stunning costumes and rich traditions of their village. He frequently strolled through the vibrant market, taking in the vivid garments, the mouth-watering dishes, and the cheerful melodies of his community. The monarchs beamed with immense pride for their beloved offspring. His passion and kindness were evident, and it was clear he would become a remarkable leader in the future. The whole village was abuzz with admiration for him. People often remarked on his wisdom, noting how rare it was for someone of his age to possess such thoughtfulness and intelligence. One of Prince Abube's cherished moments was during the Eek market days. During these times, the market square buzzed with vibrancy and vitality. The young women of the village would come together to dance, their movements brimming with joy and elegance. Prince Abube found great joy in observing their graceful movements on the dance floor. It brought him such joy that he would frequently tell himself, "I must find a woman who dances with such grace." The melodies and the rhythm elevated his mood and infused him with happiness. At the age of 16, Prince Abube faced a deeply sorrowful event. His mother, Queen Nina, fell gravely ill. In spite of all the attempts to assist her, she succumbed. The whole realm grieved for the passing of this compassionate lady. Her presence was cherished by all, and her passing created a profound void in the hearts of the community. King Dyke was utterly devastated and would not accept any comfort. He had cherished his wife profoundly, and her absence weighed heavily on his heart. Prince Abube was heartbroken. He had been nurtured by his mother's affectionate support and direction. They frequently engaged in conversations about his future, envisioning together the possibilities of what he might achieve. But now she was gone, and he found himself adrift, enveloped in a stark and desolate world. The anguish of losing his mother enveloped Prince Abube, leaving him deeply sorrowful and isolated. He had lost the joy and brightness that once defined him as the beloved prince. He would spend countless hours in his room, shutting himself off from the world around him. In the evenings, he would traverse the forest, taking in the majestic mountains and the stunning river. It offered him a fleeting sense of relief, yet upon his return to the palace, the weight of his sorrow would swiftly reclaim him. Everywhere he looked, memories of his mother surrounded him. The boy, once full of life and joy, now found himself enveloped in a profound sadness that clung to him relentlessly. The entire realm was filled with concern for his well-being. His radiant smile and gentle words were sorely missed as he rode through the village. There was a collective wish that, as time passed, the prince would discover a path to mend his heart and reclaim the happiness he had once known. Each evening, Prince Abub would mount his horse and venture into the forest, relishing the crisp breeze and the enchanting beauty of the surrounding nature. He always walked by the Odara tree, which was situated near Manati's family home. As he made his way back from the forest, a captivating voice reached his ears, compelling him to halt in his steps. The melody was so enchanting that it enveloped the whole atmosphere in these delightful harmonies. The prince, filled with curiosity, twisted and turned his head, seeking the source of the enchanting melodies. He felt the pull of the melody, guiding him forward. He urged his horse onwards, filled with anticipation to find the source of the enchanting voice. As he drew near, a magnificent scene unfolded before him, leaving him utterly speechless. There beneath the Odara tree stood Oliu. She sang and danced, her smile radiating beauty like nothing he had ever encountered. Her face radiated joy as she glided effortlessly to the beat of her melody. Her parents, Manati and Ajugo, observed her with enthusiasm, applauding and celebrating her achievements. Oliu's talent shone even brighter than that of her mother, who had once held the title of the finest dancer in Odara. Prince Abub couldn't help but smile as he observed Oliu. He had never experienced such emotions since the passing of his mother. The heaviness in his heart began to dissipate as he absorbed her melodious voice and observed her elegant gestures. He was in awe of how one individual could possess such remarkable skills in both singing and dancing. Her voice possessed an enchanting quality, soothing even the fiercest tempest. Her dance captivated the audience, brimming with vitality and exuberance. From that moment forward, Prince Abub ceased his visits to the forest. Each evening he would make his way to the Odara tree. From afar, he would watch Oliu and her family revel in their evening moments. He observed Oliu as she sang and danced, spreading happiness to all those in her presence. Her parents beamed with pride, and the affection they held for one another was unmistakable. The prince was enveloped by a profound sense of tranquility and joy, emotions that had eluded him for far too long. As Prince Abub observed Oliu, he found himself gradually mending. The weight of sorrow in his heart began to ease, and he discovered himself smiling with increasing frequency. He started to sense a return to his former self, brimming with vitality and happiness. The image of Oliu twirling and belting out tunes beneath the tree transformed his day into something truly special. It brought to mind the beauty and goodness that still exist in the world, despite enduring such a profound loss. One day, an event of great sorrow occurred that transformed everything. Nandi and Ojagwu, the devoted parents of Oliu, embarked on a journey to a distant kingdom to procure wares for the market. These goods were essential for them to sell and sustain their livelihood. As they journeyed back home, their path led them across the sea. Out of nowhere, a fierce storm erupted. The wind roared and the waves surged, towering and wild. The sailor exerted all his effort to steer the boat and ensure the safety of everyone aboard, yet the tempest proved too fierce. The vessel was no match for the fierce waves, ultimately succumbing to their might and overturning, casting all aboard into the depths below. Regrettably, all aboard the boat, Ojagwu and Nandi included, perished in the river's depths. Meanwhile, Oliu sat at home, poised in front of the house, anticipating her parents' return. She felt a thrill at the prospect of seeing them again and listening to the tales of their adventures. As the sun dipped below the horizon and twilight enveloped the world, a sense of unease began to creep in. Her parents were still absent. She chose to grab her lamp and stroll through the village, inquiring if anyone had spotted them at the market. She conversed with numerous vendors at the market, yet none had laid eyes on her parents. Devastated and filled with fear, Oliu made his way back home and settled in front of the house, weeping throughout the night. She experienced a profound sense of isolation, consumed by anxiety over the fate of her cherished parents. The following morning, she resolved to visit her grandmother's house, seeking a sense of solace. Upon her arrival, she discovered her grandmother weeping and writhing on the floor in sorrow. Oliu felt a swirl of confusion and fear. grappling with the uncertainty of the situation. Yet, she noticed the villagers gazing at her, their eyes filled with an overwhelming sense of pity. They continued to express. In that moment, the crushing news reached her ears. Her parents had passed away. They perished in the river amidst the tempest. Oliu's reality crumbled in an instant. She lamented profoundly, her sobs resonating throughout the village. The villagers who held her parents in high regard united to offer comfort to Oliu and her grandmother. The loss of Manati and Ajugo left everyone in deep sorrow. It was a profoundly sorrowful moment for Oliu and her grandmother, who now had to confront the future alone. From that moment forward, it was solely Oliu and her grandmother. They needed to lean on one another and discover a path ahead, in spite of their profound sorrow. Oliu felt a deep longing for her parents. She longed for the graceful movements of her mother's dances and the comforting warmth of her father's smiles. Life had irrevocably changed in the absence of her parents. In this sorrowful period, Prince Abu persisted in his visits to the Udara tree, yearning to catch a glimpse of Oliu and her family. Every evening, he would mount his horse and journey to the place where he once beheld Oliu dance and sing. Yet, despite his countless visits, he never encountered them again. He felt a growing sense of unease, pondering their whereabouts and the fate that might have befallen them. After weeks of visiting the Udara tree only to find it barren, Prince Abu resolved to cease his visits. Yet he could never shake off thoughts of Oliu. He longed for her radiant smile and elegant movements. The recollection of her happiness and skill lingered in his mind, and he frequently found himself longing for the chance to see her once more, even if only for an instant. Life took a challenging turn following the passing of Ajugo and Manati. Oliu's grandmother was frail and aged, unable to offer much assistance. Right after her parents passed away, Oliu's father's uncles arrived and took control of the house, the one situated close to the Udara tree. The entirety of it belonged to her father's fields. Oliu was left with nothing. No one stood in their way, unable to resist as they seized everything. Oliu found herself with just a modest plot of land adjacent to her grandmother's home. She cultivated cocoam in that spot, and it turned into their primary source of sustenance. In times of hunger, Oliu would roam the forest, collecting palm kernels. She would take them back to her home and share them with her grandmother. Even through all the challenges, Oliu felt a deep longing for her parents. She frequently longed for their presence, hoping they could offer her support and direction. Despite the challenges that life had thrown her way, her passion for dancing remained unwavering. Whenever she had the chance, she would make her way to the village square to join the other maidens in dance. Yet her garments were tattered and frayed, and her hair lay in disarray, for there was no one to tend to her needs. The other maidens chose not to welcome her into their circle as a result. They would chuckle at her and ridicule her, claiming she had an unpleasant odor and couldn't afford the stunning dance costumes they donned. These moments brought Oliu's deceased parents to her mind. Her mother had always anticipated the moment Oliu would join the maidens at the market square to dance. Yet, as the moment arrived, she found herself unable to be with them. The maidens displayed an unkind and unfriendly demeanor towards her. They called her the palm kernel girl, as she was frequently spotted roaming the bush in search of palm nuts to sell or share with her grandmother. Life presented numerous challenges for Oliu. She consistently returned home in tears, yet her grandmother was always there to comfort her. One thing she always told her was this: "My child, everything you are experiencing now is preparing you for greatness." When others suggested to your father that he should take another wife, he firmly replied that he would not, "For you are worth more than 10 sons combined." Allow this message to bring you solace, for I am certain that you will become an extraordinary woman. This brought a sense of relief to Oliu, even though she was uncertain about how it would unfold. Yet, each day presented its own challenges. She put in a lot of effort to ensure that both she and her grandmother had sufficient food to eat. She devoted countless hours to nurturing their modest cocoam farm and meandering through the forest in search of sustenance. In spite of everything, she remained unwavering in her passion for dancing. In the quiet moments she found for herself, she would revisit the dance step her mother had imparted, reminiscing about the joyful times they shared dancing beneath the Udara tree. The villagers observed the struggles that Oliu faced in life. Yet, numerous individuals were too intimidated to confront her father's uncles. Occasionally, a handful of compassionate souls would offer her some food, yet it was seldom sufficient to create a significant impact. Oliu had to summon strength and courage each day. Despite being just a young girl, she embraced various roles to guarantee their survival. The villagers lent their support by providing her with small tasks from time to time. Yet the earnings were always insufficient. In the meantime, Prince Abube embarked on a journey to a distant land, eager to immerse himself in diverse cultures and explore the advancements of modern technology. His father was convinced that this would aid in his proper healing and would also serve the greater good of the entire kingdom. Oliu found herself trapped in the village, with no hope of rescue in sight. She persevered through her daily challenges, striving to survive while caring for her elderly grandmother. One afternoon, an extraordinary event unfolded. Oliu came back from the market with a sense of joy. A generous customer purchased her pancanias at a fair price, and with the funds she was able to buy ample food. She hurried home, filled with excitement to tell her grandmother the wonderful news. Upon entering the modest hut, she discovered her grandmother lying motionless. She attempted to rouse her, giving her a gentle shake, yet nothing seemed to help. Her grandmother remained still. Oliu emitted a piercing scream filled with anguish, drawing the attention of the entire village to their hut. Her grandmother had departed from this world. Oliu wept and wept. She found herself in solitude. Her grandmother was the final link to her family, the sole person who had embraced her and nurtured her after the loss of her parents. At that moment, she found herself utterly alone. The anguish was all-consuming, and her entire being trembled with sorrow as tears cascaded down her cheeks. What was her next move going to be? She grieved for her grandmother for days, lingering in sorrow long after the burial. Ultimately, she came to the conclusion that it was time to forge ahead with her life. Yet everything had changed. In the village, whispers began to circulate, labeling her as a child of misfortune. As she walked through the village, hushed voices followed her, labeling her with names like witch and other unkind terms. She was blamed for misfortune, with accusations that she had led to the demise of her parents and grandmother. They overlooked the reality that her grandmother had been unwell long before her parents passed away. Oliu found himself in an increasingly dire predicament. Some of the villagers who once offered her small jobs began to decline, expressing their concern that her misfortune might influence their own lives. It was an awful ordeal for her. Her small cocoyam farm failed to yield sufficient food for her sustenance, and in the absence of employment, her struggles intensified. Oliu experienced the heavy burden of the villagers' harshness and the deep solitude of her circumstances. In the face of adversity, she made an effort to remain resilient. She persisted in tending to her modest farm and collecting palm kernels whenever the opportunity arose. She clung to the belief that improvement was on the horizon, yet each day presented its own trials. The village that had once been her home now seemed like a realm of harsh critiques and unwelcoming hearts. As the years flowed by, the long-awaited day arrived when Prince Abube was destined to return to his cherished village. The whole village was filled with joy and excitement. Years had passed since the prince's departure, and anticipation filled the air as everyone awaited his return. As he arrived, the villagers congregated in the square, eager to extend their warm welcome upon his return. Joy radiated from their hearts. They were filled with anticipation to catch a glimpse of the prince. The atmosphere buzzed with lively melodies and joyous movements that animated the square. Prince Abube felt a profound sense of gratitude from their heartfelt reception. Returning home after so many years was an incredibly fulfilling experience. He had longed for his kingdom, its vibrant culture, the exquisite cuisine, and the enchanting maiden who danced beneath the Udara tree lingered in his thoughts. He eagerly anticipated their next encounter. Once the festivities and celebrations came to an end, the villagers made their way back home, still filled with a sense of exhilaration. In the quiet of the royal chambers, the king and his son shared a moment, reconnecting over all that had transpired in their absence. The monarch addressed the evolution of the village and the transformations that had unfolded throughout the years. He recounted tales of individuals and the advancements they had achieved. Prince Abube, in turn, recounted stories from the distant lands he had explored, sharing insights into the vibrant cultures he encountered and the cutting-edge technology he discovered. They shared laughter, fond memories, and glasses of wine, savoring each moment together. In the midst of their conversation, the prince abruptly faced his father, a grave expression etched on his features. "Father, I desire to marry at the earliest opportunity." His father's eyes sparkled with delight. "Have you discovered your perfect match?" he inquired. "I met this girl years ago before I embarked on my travels. I may not know her name or her address, but one thing is certain, she possessed an incredible talent for singing and dancing. At a certain moment, I ceased to encounter her, and the true events remain unclear to me. I cherish her deeply, yet I'm uncertain if we can locate her within this village. That's assuming she hasn't tied the knot yet, but I sincerely hope she hasn't." The king took a moment, reflecting on his son's words. He understood that this would be a challenge, as many years had gone by and circumstances had shifted. Yet he was acutely aware of the significance this held for his son. "It seems our best course of action is to assemble all the maidens who possess the talents of dance and song. Who knows, you might discover that enchanting lady who has captured your heart." The prince's eyes sparkled with anticipation. He had never considered this before, and he found it to be a promising notion. The monarch summoned the town crier, requesting him to deliver an important announcement. The town crier's voice resonated throughout the village, summoning all the maidens with the skill to dance to gather at the palace in 4 market days. The news traveled swiftly, igniting a renewed sense of anticipation throughout the village. The whole village erupted with enthusiasm as the word about the forthcoming contest circulated. The young maidens rejoiced, viewing this as a unique chance to wed the prince. Under the sprawling branches of the grand tree in the village square, they congregated, animatedly exchanging their aspirations of ascending to the throne as the next queen of the magnificent kingdom. Chisholm, an exceptionally lovely and self-assured maiden, showcased herself with poise. "When the prince lays eyes on me, he will instantly proclaim me the victor, without needing to witness my performance," she confidently asserted. "I am the most enchanting maiden in this realm. However, I dance better," another girl chimed in. "The prince seeks a maiden with the grace to dance." The conversation persisted with fervor until Oliu arrived beneath the tree. "What is this Pumpkinelle girl doing here?" They ridiculed her. "I simply wish to participate in the contest. I have the ability to dance. I don't aspire to be the champion. I simply wish to display my abilities," she said softly. Chisholm regarded her with contempt. "This is a dance for the prince, meant for beautiful maidens, not for a girl like you who comes from humble beginnings. It is a grave affront for one of your standing to present themselves before the prince. Have you ever paused to reflect on your own image?" The other girls chuckled, ridiculing her even further. "Can you really afford a dance costume?" another maiden inquired. They chuckled once more, their jeers echoing around them. "The essential truth is that you cannot join us on the dance floor. You're unworthy of the palace," Chisholm retorted. She glanced at the other girls and remarked, "I believe she would be a suitable wife from Week, the elderly Pam wine tapper. I find myself curious about why he hasn't tied the knot yet. It seems that destiny has a message to convey. At the very least, there's a shared trait between the two of you." Their shared passion for wandering through the bush was met with the joyful laughter of the other girls, who chimed in with delight. Olia reached a breaking point, unable to endure the humiliation any further. She spun around and fled, tears cascading down her cheeks. A profound wave of shame and sorrow washed over her. How could they exhibit such cruelty? Her only desire was to seize the opportunity to dance, to showcase her abilities and pay tribute to her mother's memory. Yet the laughter and derision of the other maidens left her feeling diminutive and undeserving. She hurried to the refuge of her modest hut, a place where she could weep openly, shielded from their cruel words and mocking expressions. The maidens practiced with unwavering dedication. Each evening they convened beneath the grand tree, dedicating themselves to their practice with unwavering determination. Every one of them yearned to capture the prince's heart. They moved with unwavering resolve and elegance, yearning to be the selected one. Each time Olia caught the rhythm of the drums, she would draw near to the thicket, seeking a clearer embrace of the melody. In that bush she danced with pure delight, her entire being swaying to the melody, her heart brimming with happiness. In her thoughts, she envisioned her mother and father, observing her and experiencing her emotions alongside her. This marked the pinnacle of her existence. She longed for the chance to have a costume for the dance, yet she understood that it was out of her grasp. With the contest day drawing near, the whole village buzzed with excitement and activity. The youthful maidens thronged the market, selecting exquisite and lavish costumes. Mothers were observed aiding their daughters, proudly declaring that their child would capture the prince's heart. No one recalled Oliu. She observed from afar as the village thrummed with energy, a sharp ache of solitude piercing her heart. At last, the day everyone had been anticipating was here. Oliu found herself without a costume, yet she resolved to make her way to the palace to observe the other maidens. She cleaned one of her cloths and scrubbed her body as thoroughly as she was able. With her long hair elegantly fashioned into a knit bun, she made her way towards the palace. As she strolled, she encountered the other maidens along her path. They chuckled and ridiculed her, questioning her destination, yet she remained silent, offering no response to anyone. They had prevented her from dancing, but now no one could hinder her from stepping into the palace. The palace stood as a breathtaking spectacle, adorned with its towering, splendid residences. This was her first experience in this place, and she understood that the maidens had spoken the truth. This was not a setting for someone of her kind. As she gazed at the exquisitely decorated palace, she envisioned the experience of residing within its grand walls. Should she ascend to the throne of this kingdom, she would find endless joy in gazing upon this exquisite masterpiece. Each morning, adorned in her regal attire, she strolled through the palace grounds, inhaling the delightful fragrance of the blooming flowers in the garden. She jolted back to her reality. This was always destined to be unachievable. With each step, Oliu experienced a blend of anxiety and resolve. She understood that her chances of being selected were slim without an appropriate costume, yet her desire to attend, to witness the contest, and to partake in the thrill in any way possible was undeniable. She lifted her chin and strode forward with all the assurance she could gather, brushing aside the traps and jeers of the other young women. She stood amidst the throng, observing the elegantly attired maidens as they readied themselves for their performances. A profound yearning stirred within her, a desire to be part of their world, yet she cherished the opportunity to behold the artistry and skill of those around her. The rhythmic drumming commenced, and one by one, the maidens gracefully twirled before the prince. They glided effortlessly, their attire sparkling in the golden rays of the sun. The audience erupted in applause, and the energy was palpable. Oliu observed with keen interest, absorbing each moment, each movement. As the final maiden completed her dance, the prince's expression was one of deep sorrow. He had yet to encounter the maiden he sought, and he began to feel that this endeavor was in vain. Whispers floated among the crowd as the onlookers speculated about the unfolding events. The drums rose to a crescendo, their rhythm echoing through the palace, igniting a sense of exhilaration. Yet the prince remained without his bride. Out of nowhere, a melody resonated within Oliu's core. It was a song her mother had shared with her. It flowed with the rhythm of the drums, and before she knew it, she broke into song. Her voice resonated throughout the space, enveloping the entire palace. The voice that resonates with a sense of nostalgia. The prince sprang to his feet at once, scanning the surroundings for the source of the voice. Then she started to sway her body to the beat of the music, her voice resonating in the atmosphere. "What is happening?" the villagers cried out in astonishment. The voice echoed with a striking resemblance to a jugo. Did she return to life or something? They promptly stepped back, allowing the prince to extend his neck for a better view of her. Oliu found herself adrift, uncertain of her purpose. She twirled and belted out melodies while the audience looked on with delight. "There she is," the prince continued to scream. "She is the one. I discovered her." The other maidens were taken aback. They were in disbelief over the unfolding events. Oliu, the girl from Pamkanel? They were unaware of her remarkable dancing skills, and what astonished them the most was the prince's affection for her, despite her tattered clothing. She was abruptly pulled from her thoughts as the prince stepped closer and wrapped his arms around her. The whole realm was in disbelief. Oliu was utterly astonished. She sensed it might be a figment of her imagination or perhaps a dream. With her hands clasped in his, the prince turned to the gathered crowd. "Today I encountered the woman of my dreams. I encountered her long ago, swaying beneath the Udara tree while I was grieving for my mother. Observing her filled me with immense joy and rekindled my will to embrace life once more. In my youth, I found myself captivated by this maiden. She vanished without a trace, yet I'm relieved to have discovered her once more. While it might come as a shock to some, her background is of no concern to me. My heart is hers, and I am ready to share my eternity by her side. If she is open to it, I will gladly take her as my wife." Oliu's eyes brimmed with tears as she nodded, her voice caught in her throat. The crowd exchanged glances, and the other maidens who had once ridiculed her now gazed upon her with admiration. Oliu revealed that genuine beauty and skill originate from the depths of one's being. A pure heart has the power to attain greatness. The maidens lowered their heads in embarrassment. They recalled the harshness with which they had treated Oliu and the consequences that followed. Fear gripped them as they imagined her wrath, prompting a hasty escape from the palace. The prince proclaimed the day he would wed Oliu. She would stay in the palace as they ensured her well-being. The monarch was filled with joy. His son consistently filled him with pride. Oliu believed she was lost in a dream. She received a stunning room within the palace, accompanied by a maid dedicated to her care. After her bath, she slipped into fresh clothes, braided her hair, and appeared absolutely stunning. He was utterly astonished at the sight of her. She appeared remarkably stunning. His kindness and gentleness towards her made it impossible for her not to fall in love with the prince. She had never experienced such a gesture of kindness before. As she sat with the prince that night, he inquired about her sudden disappearance. Then she revealed her narrative to him. Everything she had endured. The prince, engulfed in sorrow, found solace in comforting her. Yet he vowed to exact retribution on her father's uncle for the suffering they had inflicted upon her. Their union was celebrated in an extravagant ceremony. The crowd was in disbelief as Oliu emerged from the shadows. She appeared as a divine figure of the earth, stunning and luminous. The prince was captivated by her beauty. They embraced tightly, vowing to cherish their love forever. The whole village divided them among themselves. The young women remained fearful of what Oliu might unleash upon them. Amidst the festivities, they resolved to seek her forgiveness. They had come to understand the importance of treating everyone with kindness, for the future remains uncertain. They clung to her knees, tears streaming down their faces. Oliu extended forgiveness and encouraged them to cultivate the practice of kindness towards all, irrespective of their standing. The young women expressed their gratitude and vowed to embrace a fresh start. The villagers reveled late into the night, filled with joy over the union of Prince Ibube and Oliu. A fresh start awaited Oliu, who had endured numerous challenges, serving as a poignant reminder that compassion, perseverance, and a passion for one's abilities can transform life in the most surprising manners. She recalled her father's words and tears welled up in her eyes. Oliu enjoyed a joyful life alongside her husband. Upon ascending to the throne, he governed our realm with remarkable compassion and grace. They were graced with lovely children, and they enjoyed a joyful life together. To ensure you receive notifications each time we share new tales, I appreciate your support and the uplifting words you've shared. I cherish them deeply and find great pleasure in reading your lovely remarks. At this moment, I must depart and look forward to our next tale together. Farewell.